The blood on the tunnel wall told a different story than the official report. August 31st, 1997. 0:23 hours. Paris. The revolving doors of the Ritz Hotel spun one last time that night. A black Mercedes S 280 slipped into the wet streets of Paris. Inside sat the most photographed woman in the world. Diana Spencer no longer carried her royal title, but she was still everyone's princess. Beside her sat Dodi Al-Fayed, Egyptian billionaire. In his pocket, a $230,000 engagement ring. He would never get to propose. Henri Paul gripped the steering wheel. The Ritz security chief, who wasn't supposed to be working that night. 3 hours earlier, he'd received a mysterious phone call. He returned to the hotel with €1,230 in his pocket, cash that would never be explained. Trevor Rees-Jones sat in the front passenger seat. Diana's bodyguard. The only survivor. The man who would remember nothing. Or chose to remember nothing. 7 paparazzi motorcycles followed them through the streets. Or was it 9? Some witnesses swore they counted 12. But when they entered the tunnel, only one white Fiat Uno was beside them. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel swallowed them at 00:25. The Mercedes entered at 121 kilometers per hour. The speed limit was 50. What happened next would take exactly 13 seconds to unfold and 13 minutes to be discovered. The car clipped the 13th pillar. Diana's heart hadn't detached from her chest yet. She was conscious in the back seat. Her lips were moving. Witnesses heard her speak, not in French, in English. Her last words, "My God, what happened?" Then silence. But here's where the story becomes strange. Paris has more CCTV cameras per square kilometer than almost any major city. The route from the Ritz to Dodi's apartment passes 17 traffic cameras. Every single one was under maintenance. That night. All of them. At the same time. Only that night. The first emergency call wasn't made until 0:32, 7 minutes after the crash. In the middle of Paris. On a Saturday night. Dr. Frederic Millet happened to be driving through the tunnel. By pure chance, he said. An off-duty doctor who just happened to have his medical bag. He was the first to reach Diana. She was alive, alert, speaking. But the ambulance wouldn't arrive for another 8 minutes. When paramedics finally reached the scene, Diana's condition was still stable. Her heart was beating. She was breathing on her own. The hospital was 6 kilometers away. The ambulance took 1 hour and 43 minutes to get there. Let me repeat that. 1 hour and 43 minutes. To travel 6 kilometers. The driver later testified they were going very slowly to avoid bumps. They stopped twice to stabilize her. By the time they reached La Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, Diana's heart had stopped. Now let's talk about Henri Paul. The official autopsy revealed he had 3 times the legal limit of alcohol in his blood, but security footage from the Ritz showed him completely sober, tying his shoelaces, walking straight lines, having normal conversations. The bartender confirmed he'd served Henri Paul 2 Ricard drinks. That's all. To reach the blood alcohol level found in his body, he would have needed 8 glasses. But there was something else in Henri Paul's blood. Something that made no sense. Carbon monoxide at 20.7%. Heavy smokers rarely exceed 8%. This level suggests prolonged exposure to exhaust fumes. Or something else. And then there was the albendazole, a drug for tropical parasites. Henri Paul had never left France. Why would he be taking medicine for tropical diseases? The investigation would later reveal something extraordinary. Henri Paul wasn't just a security chief. He was an informant for French intelligence. And MI 6. His handler's codename was K284. Every month, mysterious deposits appeared in his account. 3 times his salary. He had 174,000 francs in savings. Too much for a security chief. Even a good one. 3 weeks before the crash, Diana had written a note. She gave it to her butler, Paul Burrell. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. They're planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury, so Charles can marry again. She named who they were, but that part was never released to the public. Redacted for national security. MI 6 agent Richard Tomlinson would later testify under oath. In 1992, British intelligence had drafted a plan to assassinate Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic. The code name was Heaven's Bridge. The method: cause a car crash in a tunnel, using a strobe light to blind the driver. The exact scenario that played out in Paris. But let's return to that white Fiat Uno. Paint traces on the Mercedes matched a specific Fiat Uno, white, manufactured between 1983 and 1987. The French police identified 4,000 possible vehicles. They never found the right one. Or did they? James Anderson owned a white Fiat Uno. He was a paparazzi photographer. He was in Paris that night. 3 hours after the crash, he drove 400 kilometers to Lyon. In May 2000, Danson's body was found in a burned car in the woods. The police ruled it suicide. He had 2 bullet holes in his head. No gun was found at the scene. His Fiat Uno was never forensically examined. It was sent to be crushed. Immediately. The official inquest would later ask, how does a man shoot himself twice in the head, then set his car on fire without leaving a weapon? They never got an answer. Now here's what most people don't know about that night. Diana was pregnant. The tests at the hospital confirmed it. 6 to 10 weeks. Dodi Al-Fayed was the father. The future King of England's mother was carrying a Muslim's child. This information was sealed for privacy reasons. Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, would spend the next decade claiming the royal family orchestrated the murders. He said Prince Philip personally ordered the hit. He had letters to prove it. Those letters were never made public. But something else was. In 2003, Diana's personal belongings were returned to her family. Among them was a tape recorder. On it was a message she'd recorded in 1996. There are powers that be that don't want me around anymore. They see me as a threat, not to Charles, but to the institution itself. I know too much about their secrets. What secrets? We'll never know. The tape cuts off there. The rest was erased. Let me tell you about the ambulance journey in more detail. Dr. Jean-Marc Martino was in charge. He later testified that Diana's initial injuries were not catastrophic. It contained internal bleeding that was manageable. The ambulance left the tunnel at 1:18 a.m. It arrived at the hospital at 2:06 a.m. 48 minutes to travel 6 kilometers. Val de Grace was excellent for trauma. They drove past it. The ambulance stopped at the Jardin des Tuileries for 10 minutes. The official reason: to stabilize the patient. But here's what doesn't make sense. If Diana needed stabilization, why not stop at a hospital? If she was stable enough to transport, why stop at all? Dr. Martino would later change his testimony 3 times. The anesthesiologist, Dr. Lee Gall, refused to testify at all. The ambulance driver has never been publicly identified. Operation Paget, the British investigation into Diana's death, interviewed 1,500 witnesses. It took 3 years, cost £12.5 million. Their conclusion: tragic accident, but they never explained the missing CCTV footage. or Henri Paul's impossible blood tests, or the white Fiat Uno, or why it took 48 minutes to drive 6 kilometers. Lord Justice Scott Baker, who led the inquest, made an interesting observation. If this was a conspiracy, it would require the cooperation of French intelligence, British intelligence, the Paris police, the medical staff, and the paparazzi. Such a conspiracy would be impossible to maintain. Unless, of course, they were all involved. In 2013, Scotland Yard received new information. A former SAS soldier, known only as Soldier N, claimed the SAS was involved in Diana's death. He said it during a domestic argument. His wife recorded it. The investigation was reopened and quickly closed again. Insufficient evidence. Soldier N retracted his statement. His wife withdrew the recording. They divorced and disappeared. The French investigation had its own problems. The tunnel was washed down within hours of the crash. With industrial disinfectant. Standard procedure, they said. For a crime scene, the Mercedes was examined, then destroyed. Standard procedure. Evidence in a potential murder? Blood samples from Henri Paul were somehow contaminated. They had to be destroyed. All of them. The backup samples went missing. Never found. Judge Hervé Stephan, who led the French investigation, concluded it was an accident caused by Henri Paul's drunk driving. But in his private notes, released years later, he wrote, "There are questions I was not permitted to ask." What questions? We'll never know. Judge Stephan died in 2009. Heart attack. He was 54 and in perfect health. Here. Quote, something else they don't want you to know. Diana. Quote, phone records from that night have never been released. She made 3 calls from the Ritz. The numbers are classified for the protection of private individuals, the report states. One of those calls lasted 23 minutes. Who did she call? What did she discuss? The person who knows isn't talking, because that person's identity is also classified. Mohammed Al-Fayed hired former Scotland Yard detective John McNamara to investigate. McNamara discovered that several witnesses had changed their testimonies. Some had been visited by government officials before testifying. Others suddenly couldn't remember key details. Francois Levestre saw a bright flash before the crash, like a strobe light. He reported it immediately. Later, he retracted his statement. Then he disappeared. His current whereabouts are unknown. Brian Anderson, a passenger in a taxi behind Diana's car, said he saw a motorcycle swerve in front of the Mercedes just before the crash. The motorcycle's passenger was holding something. Anderson was never called to testify. He died in 2001. Car accident. In a tunnel. Gary Hunter, staying at the Royal Alma Hotel, heard the crash from his room. He looked out and saw 2 vehicles leaving the tunnel at high speed. Not paparazzi motorcycles. Cars. Large cars. Like they were escaping, he said. Hunter, quote's testimony was dismissed as unreliable. He was a businessman with no reason to lie. The paparazzi were arrested that night. All of them. Then released. Their film was confiscated. None of it was ever returned or made public. Not a single photograph from inside the tunnel has ever surfaced. 7 professional photographers. Not one image. They all claimed they didn't take any photos. Professional paparazzi. At the scene of the century's biggest story. And they didn't take photos. Romuald Rat, one of the paparazzi, later admitted under oath that he was ordered not to discuss what he saw. By whom? His answer was stricken from the record. Now, let's discuss the most damning evidence of all. The Mishkan note. In October 1995, Diana met with her lawyer, Lord Mishkan. She told him she feared for her life. She said there was a plot to kill her in a car accident. Lord Mishkan took detailed notes. He gave those notes to the police. Gave those notes to the police. The same day Diana died. The police locked them in a safe. For 6 years. They claimed they forgot about them. When the notes were finally revealed, key portions were redacted. Still are. National security. What could Diana have known that threatens national security 7 years after her death? The answer might lie in her work. 2 weeks before she died, Diana was in Bosnia. She was campaigning against landmines. This angered powerful people. The British arms industry sells 100 million pounds of weapons annually. Diana was bad for business. She was also planning to visit Gaza to highlight Palestinian suffering. This trip was mysteriously cancelled after her death. Robin Cook, British Foreign Secretary, later said Diana was becoming a problem for more than just the royal family. Cook died in 2005. Heart attack while hiking. He was 5'9". In 2011, new information surfaced. Diana, quote, sea driver that night, wasn't supposed to be Henri Paul. It was supposed to be Philippe Dernier, Dodi's regular driver, but Dernier was told to go home. By whom? He doesn't remember. Or won't say. Henri Paul was called in at the last minute. After receiving that mysterious phone call from a number that no longer exists. The Mercedes wasn't supposed to be used either. Dodi had ordered a different car, an armored Range Rover. It mysteriously broke down that afternoon. No repair records exist. The backup car, a BMW, also developed problems. No repair records. So they used the Mercedes. The only car without armor plating. The only car without bulletproof glass. The route they took wasn't the planned route. The original plan was to drive directly to Dodi's apartment. Instead, Henri Paul took a longer route through the tunnel. He told no one about the change. Or did someone tell him? The investigation found Henri Paul had multiple phones. 3 were discovered. His friends said he had 5. 2 are still missing. Along with whatever secrets they contained. Princess Diana's personal effects included a small tape recorder. On it was a 15-minute recording made 2 weeks before her death. Most of it is Diana talking about her sons, but at minute 12, she says something extraordinary. The thing is, I know they can do it. They've done it before. Sarah knew too much, and look what happened to her. Sarah who? Sarah Ferguson. Someone else? The tape was never played publicly. That section was erased before it was returned to the family. Accidentally, they said. In 2018, Diana's biographer, Andrew Morton, revealed something extraordinary. Diana had given him a sealed envelope in 1991. She told him to open it only if something happened to her. Inside was a list of names, people she said were dangerous to her. Morton burned the letter after her death. On advice from his lawyer, the names were too inflammatory. Who was on that list? Morton won't say. Even now. Their quote says one final piece of evidence. The most disturbing of all. In 2013, a former MI5 officer, David Shaler, claimed under oath that he had seen documents proving British intelligence was monitoring Diana. Her phones were tapped. Her apartment was bugged. Even her car. The Mercedes that crashed had been serviced 2 days earlier at a garage used by French intelligence. The service records are missing. The mechanics who worked on it can't be found. One of them, Jean-Paul Lucchesi, died in 1998. Suicide. He left no note. The other, Patrick Lawrence, disappeared in 1999. His family doesn't know where he is, or they're not saying. So what really happened in that tunnel? Here's what we know for certain. Diana was alive after the crash. She could have survived with prompt medical attention. The delay in getting her to the hospital was inexplicable. The official investigation ignored crucial evidence. Witnesses were silenced or discredited. Evidence was destroyed. The truth was buried. Just like Diana herself. The official story asks us to believe that everything that night was a coincidence. The cameras all failing. Henri Paul's mysterious behavior. The route change. The slow ambulance. The missing photographs. The destroyed evidence. The silenced witnesses. The classified documents. All just coincidences. Perhaps. Or perhaps. Princess Diana was right. Perhaps they really were planning to kill her. And on August 31st, 1997, in a Paris tunnel, perhaps they succeeded. The British royal family has never commented on the conspiracy theories. Their silence speaks volumes. Queen Elizabeth II attended Diana's funeral. She never spoke publicly about her death. She took those secrets to her own grave. Charles married Camilla in 2005. Just as Diana predicted. The boys, William and Harry, have their own suspicions. Harry has said publicly that he believes his mother was murdered. William remains silent, like his grandmother before him. The truth lies somewhere in that tunnel, in those missing 13 minutes, in those destroyed blood samples, in those classified documents, in those silenced witnesses. But we'll never know for certain, because some secrets are worth killing for, and some truths are too dangerous to reveal. Even now, even 27 years later. Diana Spencer, July 1st, 1961 to August 31st, 1997. The People's Princess, the Queen of Hearts, the woman who knew too much. Her death certificate lists the cause as traffic accident. But those who loved her know better. Those who feared her know the truth. And somewhere in a classified file, locked in a government vault, stamped not to be opened until 2097, lies the real story of what happened in the Pont de l'Ama tunnel. We just have to wait another 73 years to read it. If it still exists by then, if anyone's still alive who remembers, if the truth still matters. Rest in peace, Diana. Your secrets died with you, but your suspicions live on.